Hannah, before God and everyone here, there is something I must confess. I cannot marry you knowing the truth about what happened that night.
Before we continue, if you believe our stories deserve to be heard, do me a quick favor. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves meaningful African tales. Let's keep our stories alive together. The entire reception hall froze when the man in the simple brown suit calmly stepped onto the stage and took the microphone from the shocked master of ceremonies. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The chandeliers above shimmered as whispers spread like wildfire. Some guests stood up, others covered their mouths. A woman fainted near the front row. The groom, quiet, humble, known by everyone as the waste collector who married a restaurant maid, looked straight at his bride and said in a steady voice, "My name is Marcus Wellington, and everything you think you know about me is a lie." Hannah's smile slowly faded. Her hands trembled as the words sank in. The man she married that morning, the man who smelled of soap and hard work, the man who wore second-hand clothes and spoke gently to strangers, was suddenly being called a liar in front of hundreds of people. A security guard rushed toward the stage. Another guest shouted, "Is this a joke?" Marcus raised his hand, calm, controlled, powerful. The room fell silent again. "I am the owner of Wellington Holdings," he continued, "and today I chose to reveal the truth." The name hit the hall like thunder. Wellington Holdings. The billion-dollar empire, real estate, tech, shipping, one of the wealthiest men on 2 continents. Hannah staggered back a step. Her mind spun. The memories rushed in, him lifting trash bins, him sweating under the sun, him counting coins before buying food. Her chest tightened. "What?" she whispered. Before Marcus could say another word, Hannah turned and ran. The doors slammed behind her. And the man who faked poverty to find true love stood alone on the stage, surrounded by wealth, staring at the woman whose heart he might have just shattered. The guests erupted into chaos. No one knew yet how it all began. Years earlier, Marcus Wellington was everything the world admired. Tall, polished, soft-spoken, a perfect gentleman with a reputation for kindness and deep pockets, women admired him, families pushed their daughters toward him, churches prayed for him. But Marcus had learned, painfully, that admiration and love were not the same thing. His first marriage lasted barely a year. His wife smiled for cameras but cried when there were no shopping trips. She loved the lifestyle, not the man. When Marcus refused to fund her secret business schemes, she disappeared with a lawyer and half a fortune. The second marriage hurt worse. That woman promised loyalty, promised simplicity, promised faith. But the moment Marcus fell ill and business slowed, she changed. Cold, bitter, demanding. When he recovered, he discovered she had been moving money into hidden accounts. Divorce followed, headlines followed, mockery followed. By the third attempt, Marcus stopped believing in chance. Women began approaching him openly, boldly, sometimes shamelessly. Some cried, some prayed loudly in front of him, some pretended to be humble. Every smile felt calculated, every compliment sounded rehearsed. One night, Marcus sat alone in his massive mansion, staring at the city lights, feeling smaller than he ever had in his life. "What if no one loves me?" he said aloud, "only what I have." The question haunted him. Weeks later, he made a decision that shocked his personal assistant. Marcus sold the idea of himself as a wealthy man. He shaved his beard differently, wore worn clothes, drove an old truck, changed his name. And he took a job no one expected a billionaire to take. Waste collection. Not as a charity stunt, not as a secret documentary, but as a test. Each morning he woke before sunrise, he lifted bins, he sweated, he smelled of labor, he learned what it meant to be invisible. People avoided him, some insulted him, Some threw trash without looking at his face. And for the first time in years, no woman followed him with hungry eyes. Until Hannah. She worked at a small neighborhood restaurant called Mama D's Kitchen, a place that smelled of pepper soup and laughter. Hannah was 22, caramel-skinned, beautiful in a quiet way. Her hair was always packed into a neat, natural bun. She wore simple dresses and spoke softly. Marcus noticed her the first time he came to collect the restaurant's waste. She smiled. Not a forced smile, not a pity smile. A real one. "Good morning, sir," she said. "Please let me help you with that." She held the bin while he lifted it. Marcus blinked, surprised. The second time, she brought him water. "You work hard," she said. "Don't forget to rest." The third time, she packed leftover food neatly and placed it beside the bin. "For later," she said, "so you don't skip meals." Marcus felt something crack open inside his chest. She never asked his name, never asked for money, never acted embarrassed to be seen talking to him. Some days, when customers insulted him or turned their faces away, Hannah would defend him. "He is doing honest work," she once snapped at a rude customer. "Respect him." Marcus started timing his route so he would reach Mama D's kitchen last. They began talking. Small talks at first, about weather, about work, about life. Hannah told him she was saving to go back to school, that she believed dignity mattered more than riches. "I admire men who don't shy away from work," she said once. "Hardworking men are rich already." Those words stayed with him. Weeks turned into months. Marcus fell. Not for her beauty, but for her heart. And unknown to Hannah, the wealthiest man she would ever meet was standing in front of her every morning, pretending to be nothing. One evening, Marcus asked her to walk with him after work. She agreed. Under the dim streetlights, surrounded by quiet roads and distant sounds of the city, he asked her a question that terrified him more than any business deal. "Would you ever marry a man like me?" he asked carefully. Hannah stopped walking. She looked at him, really looked at him. "If he is honest," she said, "and hardworking and kind, yes." Marcus swallowed hard. That night he knew. But he also knew the truth could destroy everything. And when he finally proposed, with a simple ring and a nervous smile, Hannah said yes without hesitation. What Marcus didn't know was that his secret was already starting to slip. And the choice he made next would either prove Hannah's love was real or break her forever. Hannah's yes echoed in Marcus's ears long after she said it. She didn't scream, she didn't jump, she didn't call her friends to brag. She simply smiled, eyes shining, and said, "Yes, I will." Marcus had expected joy, but what he felt was fear. Because loving Hannah was easy. Lying to her was not. They planned a simple wedding. Hannah insisted on it. She said she didn't believe love needed noise to prove itself. Marcus agreed quickly, relieved that she wasn't asking questions he wasn't ready to answer. They rented a small apartment near the restaurant. Marcus still woke up early for work, still wore his worn clothes, still collected waste every morning. Hannah woke before him to cook breakfast and pack his lunch. Each day her kindness deepened. She washed his work clothes without complaint. She massaged his tired hands. She listened when he talked about the disrespect he faced on the job. "People can be cruel," she said softly one night as she cleaned a small cut on his arm. "But honest work is honorable." Marcus looked at her and wondered how someone so young could carry such wisdom. But the lie sat between them like a silent guest. Sometimes Hannah noticed things that didn't add up. Marcus spoke with confidence about investments when they watched the news. He understood business language too easily. He sometimes slipped and used words that didn't fit his supposed background. Once, a luxury car slowed down beside him on the street. The driver stared at Marcus in confusion before speeding off. Hannah frowned. "Do you know him?" Marcus forced a laugh. "People mistake me for someone else all the time." She nodded, but something stayed in her eyes. At the restaurant, rumors began. Some coworkers whispered that Hannah could have done better. Others mocked her for marrying a waste collector. "You're too fine for that life," one waitress said bluntly. "You could have married rich." Hannah shook her head. "I married peace." Marcus overheard that once. It took everything in him not to cry. As the wedding day approached, Marcus's assistant, Daniel, begged him to stop the lie. "She deserves the truth," Daniel said. "This is dangerous." Marcus knew that, but fear held him hostage. What if she changed? What if the man she loved was only the poor version of him? What if wealth ruined everything again? So he stayed silent. The wedding day came quietly. No flashy decorations, no luxury cars, just love, music, and people who truly mattered. Hannah wore a simple white dress. Her natural bun was neatly styled, her caramel skin glowing. Marcus wore a plain suit borrowed from a friend. When she walked down the aisle, Marcus knew he had never seen anything more beautiful. They exchanged vows with trembling voices. Hannah spoke about loyalty, respect, and partnership. Marcus spoke about honesty. The word burned his tongue. And then at the reception, surrounded by laughter and food, Marcus saw something that changed everything. Across the hall stood one of his former associates, a woman who had once tried to marry him for his money. Her eyes widened as she recognized him. The color drained from her face. Marcus's heart dropped. She whispered urgently to someone beside her. Within seconds, murmurs began. Marcus felt the moment slipping out of his control. That was when he walked to the stage. That was when he took the microphone. That was when he told the truth. And that was when Hannah ran. Now, hours later, Marcus stood alone outside the reception hall, staring at the closed doors, replaying Hannah's face in his mind. Shock, pain, betrayal. He tried calling her. No answer. He drove back to the small apartment they shared. The lights were off. Her bag was gone. The silence crushed him. For the first time in years, Marcus felt truly poor. Not in money, but in hope. Meanwhile, Hannah sat on a bench at a nearby bus stop, her wedding dress hidden under a borrowed jacket. Her mind raced. Everything felt fake. Every memory twisted. Was his kindness an act? Was his sweat a lie? Did he laugh with her because he loved her, or because he was testing her? Tears rolled down her cheeks. She remembered the insults he faced, the meals she packed, the pride she felt standing beside him. Had she been part of a game? A test? Her phone buzzed again. Marcus. She turned it off. "I loved a man," she whispered to herself, "not a secret." But even as anger burned in her chest, another truth fought its way through. He had never asked her for money. He had never acted superior. He had lived the lie fully. Why? The question wouldn't let her rest. As night deepened, Hannah made a decision. She would confront him. Not as a maid. Not as a wife. But as a woman who deserved answers. What she didn't know was that powerful people were already moving, curious about the woman who married Marcus Wellington without knowing who he was. And by morning, Hannah's life would change in ways she never imagined. Morning light crept slowly into the small apartment, but Marcus had not slept. He sat on the edge of the bed, still in his wedding suit, staring at the door Hannah had walked through the night before. The silence felt louder than any argument. Every tick of the clock reminded him that he might have lost the one thing he had searched for all his life. Across town, Hannah stood outside Mama D's kitchen, still wearing the borrowed jacket over her wedding dress. She had not gone far. Somehow, her feet brought her back to the place where everything between them had started. Mama D herself opened the restaurant early and froze when she saw Hannah. "Child," she said gently, "what happened?" Hannah couldn't speak at first. Then the words poured out, broken, confused, heavy with pain. "He lied," she said. "My husband lied about who he is." Mama D listened quietly, nodding, wiping her hands on her apron. When Hannah finished, Mama D sighed. "Sit down." They sat at a corner table where Hannah had once served Marcus leftover food with a shy smile. "Let me ask you something," Mama D said calmly. "When that man thought you believed he was poor, how did he treat you?" Hannah hesitated. "He was kind," she admitted, "patient, respectful." "Did he ever ask you for money?" "No." "Did he ever shame you or act above you?" "No." Mama D leaned forward. "Then the lie was wrong, yes, but the love you saw, was it fake?" Hannah's throat tightened. "I don't know," she whispered. "I feel fooled." Mama D nodded. "That feeling is real, but don't let anger answer questions meant for truth." Those words followed Hannah as she left the restaurant. At the same time, across the city, Marcus was facing consequences of another kind. Daniel rushed into the apartment, panic written all over his face. "The news is already picking it up," Daniel said. "People are asking questions. They want to know who she is. They're digging into her life." Marcus stood up sharply. "Stop it." "We can't," Daniel said. "Your name brings attention, and now they know you married without a prenup." Marcus felt sick. "I don't care about the money," he said firmly. "Protect her, whatever it takes." Daniel studied him. "You really love her?" Marcus nodded. "I always have." But love didn't erase damage. By afternoon, Hannah noticed strange things. A black car parked near her bus stop. A man in a suit watching her from across the street. Her phone buzzed with unknown numbers. Fear crept in. She hurried back to the apartment she shared with Marcus, planning only to collect her things quietly. But when she opened the door, Marcus was there. They stared at each other. The air felt heavy. "You shouldn't be here," Hannah said coldly. "I know," Marcus replied softly, "but please listen." She crossed her arms. "Talk." Marcus took a deep breath. "I lied about my name and my wealth. That part is true, and I am sorry. I will regret that for the rest of my life." "Why?" she demanded. "Why not tell me the truth?" "Because every time I told the truth before," he said, voice breaking, "I was loved for the wrong reasons." Hannah's eyes filled with tears, but she stayed silent. "I wanted someone to see me," Marcus continued. "Not my accounts, not my houses, just me." "So you tested me," she said bitterly. "No," he said quickly. "I lived the lie completely. I took the insults. I did the work. I was ready to be that man forever if it meant keeping you." Hannah shook her head. "You took away my choice." Those words cut deeper than anything. Marcus nodded. "You're right." Silence fell between them. Finally, Hannah spoke again. "Do you know how it feels to realize your whole marriage started with a secret?" Marcus looked at the floor. "Yes, and I hate myself for it." She picked up her bag. "I need time," she said. "Time to think, time to breathe." Marcus stepped aside. "I'll give you space, but please know this, everything I felt was real." Hannah paused at the door, her hands shaking. She wanted to believe him. But trust, once cracked, didn't heal easily. As she walked out, Marcus sank onto the couch, feeling the weight of his choices. Outside, Hannah didn't notice the black car slowly pulling away. She didn't know that lawyers were arguing about her worth. She didn't know that society was already judging her intentions. All she knew was that she loved a man and married a mystery. Hannah moved into a small room behind Mama D's kitchen. It was not planned. It was not comfortable. But it was quiet, and quiet was what her heart needed. Each morning, she woke to the smell of spices and the sound of pots clanging. She worked longer hours, keeping her hands busy so her mind would not wander too far into memories she was not ready to face. But memories do not ask for permission. Everywhere she turned, Marcus followed her thoughts. The way he used to wait patiently while she closed late. The way he thanked her for food like it was a gift, not a favor. The way he listened when she talked about her dreams. She hated herself for missing him. Meanwhile, Marcus returned to a world he thought he had escaped. His mansion felt colder than ever. Meetings resumed, staff bowed, assistants hovered, money flowed. But peace was gone. At work, he made careless mistakes. He snapped at people. He stared out windows instead of signing documents. Daniel noticed everything. "You can buy anything," Daniel said one evening, "but you can't buy back trust." Marcus nodded. "I know." What hurt most was knowing Hannah had never asked for luxury, never asked for gifts, never asked questions about his future plans. She had loved the man who carried trash. And that truth tortured him. Back at the restaurant, rumors spread fast. Customers whispered. Coworkers stared at Hannah differently now. "So it's true," one waitress asked carefully. "You married a billionaire." Hannah's jaw tightened. "I married a man, that's all." But the world didn't see it that way. Some customers treated her with fake respect. Others treated her with suspicion. A few even mocked her. She played her cards well, one man muttered loudly. Hannah slammed a plate on the table. "I didn't know." But explaining didn't make it hurt less. One afternoon, a woman walked into the restaurant wearing designer clothes and a confident smile. She walked straight to Hannah's table. "You must be Hannah," the woman said smoothly. Hannah frowned. "Who are you?" "My name is Vanessa." The woman replied, "I used to be married to Marcus." Hannah's chest tightened. Vanessa leaned closer. "I just wanted to see the girl who trapped him." Hannah stood up slowly. "Leave." Vanessa laughed. "Oh, please don't act innocent. Women like you always pretend." Something inside Hannah snapped. "You're wrong," she said firmly. "I loved him when he had nothing." Vanessa's smile faded slightly. "That's what you all say." Before Hannah could respond, Mama D appeared. "Take your poison somewhere else," Mama D said coldly. Vanessa scoffed and walked out. But her words stayed behind. That night, Hannah cried quietly on her narrow bed. She questioned herself. Was her love enough to survive betrayal? Did Marcus deserve another chance? At the same time, Marcus made a decision. He stopped hiding. He sold properties. He stepped down temporarily from public events. He refused interviews. Instead, he did something unexpected. He returned to the waste collection job. Not in disguise. As Marcus Wellington. People stared. Some laughed. Some mocked. But Marcus didn't care. He lifted bins with the same hands that signed million-dollar deals. He worked under the same sun. Word spread quickly. "Why is he doing this?" people asked. Marcus answered simply, "Because it matters." Hannah heard about it 2 days later. A customer showed her a video on a phone. Marcus, sweaty, dirty, working. No cameras around him. No speeches. Just work. Hannah stared at the screen. Her heart ached. That night, Marcus stood outside Mama D's kitchen. He didn't enter. He just stood there, holding a small paper bag. Hannah noticed him through the window. Their eyes met. For a moment, the world stopped. Marcus placed the bag at the door and walked away. Inside the bag was the first meal Hannah ever packed for him, recreated carefully. And a note. "I lied about my name. I lied about my money, but I never lied about loving you." Hannah held the note with trembling fingers. She didn't know whether to cry or scream. All she knew was that the man who broke her trust was also the man fighting quietly to earn it back. And for the first time since the wedding, Hannah allowed herself to wonder if forgiveness was possible. But just as her heart softened, a new storm began to form. Because someone else had noticed Marcus's public return to humility. And they planned to use Hannah to hurt him where it mattered most. The storm came quietly. Hannah didn't see it at first. Life slowly settled into a strange routine. She worked, rested, and avoided places where memories could ambush her. Marcus stayed away, keeping his promise to give her space, though his presence was felt everywhere, in whispers, in news clips, in the way people suddenly watched her more closely. One evening, as Hannah closed the restaurant, a well-dressed man approached her. "Miss Hannah?" he asked politely. "Yes," she replied, cautious. "My name is Mr. Cole. I represent a private foundation interested in supporting young women with strong work ethics." Hannah frowned. "I didn't apply for anything." He smiled. "We noticed you." Those words sent a chill through her. They sat at a corner table. He spoke calmly, professionally. He praised her resilience, her humility, her story. He said the foundation wanted to sponsor her education and help her relocate if needed. "It's not charity," he said. "It's opportunity." Hannah hesitated. "Why me?" Mr. Cole paused. "Because sometimes people deserve help after being hurt." That night Hannah couldn't sleep. Something about the offer felt heavy, too convenient, too informed. Across the city, Marcus was dealing with pressure of another kind. His board members were restless. Investors were nervous. His public image was fractured. Some praised his humility, others accused him of manipulation. "You're bleeding influence," Daniel warned, "and someone is moving quietly in the background." Marcus leaned back. "Who?" "We don't know yet," Daniel said, "but Hannah's name keeps coming up." Marcus stiffened. "Protect her." "We are trying." But protection is not always faster than intention. The next day, Hannah received an envelope at work. Inside were printed photos. Her and Marcus walking together. Laughing. Sharing food. Him proposing. Along with a letter. "You married a liar. Don't become one yourself." Her hands shook. She felt watched. That evening, Mr. Cole returned. "You look shaken," he said gently. She showed him the photos. He sighed. "That's exactly why we want to help you leave this environment." "Who are you really?" Hannah asked. Mr. Cole met her eyes. "Someone who knows how dangerous powerful men can be." The word struck fear into her heart. At the same time, Marcus discovered the truth. Daniel stormed into his office, face pale. "Vanessa." Marcus stood up instantly. "What about her?" "She's funding a quiet campaign, legal pressure, media plants, and now Hannah." Marcus's blood ran cold. "I knew she wouldn't let this go," Marcus said through clenched teeth. Vanessa had always hated losing, and losing Marcus to a woman who didn't want his money was something her pride could not accept. That night, Marcus drove to Mama D's kitchen. He waited outside again. This time, Hannah came out. "What do you want?" she asked, guarded. "To warn you," Marcus said. "Someone is trying to use you against me." Hannah laughed bitterly. "Isn't that what everyone thinks I'm already doing?" Marcus flinched. "They're lying to you," he said urgently. "Vanessa wants to paint you as a gold digger or a victim. Either way, she wins." Hannah crossed her arms. "Then why did someone offer to take me away, to help me start over?" Marcus's face tightened. "Because distance makes control easier." Silence fell. For a moment, Hannah saw fear in his eyes, not for his money, not for his image, but for her. "I don't want to fight your battles," she said quietly. "I know," Marcus replied. I just don't want you hurt because of me." Hannah turned away. That night she made a choice. She accepted the Foundation's offer. Not because she wanted to escape Marcus, but because she wanted clarity. What she didn't know was that by stepping into that car the next morning, she was stepping deeper into a game she never agreed to play. And Marcus, watching from a distance as the car drove away, felt the familiar ache of losing control. Except this time, the cost wasn't money. It was the woman he loved. The car ride felt longer than it should have. Hannah sat in the back seat, hands folded on her lap, staring out the tinted window as the city slowly faded into unfamiliar streets. Mr. Cole sat beside her, speaking calmly about plans, timelines, and opportunities, but his words drifted past her ears like noise. Her heart felt heavy. She told herself she had made the right choice. Space would give her clarity. Distance would quiet the confusion in her mind. Yet with every mile, Marcus's face returned to her thoughts. Not the billionaire on the stage, but the man who thanked her for leftover food. The man who carried waste with dignity. The man whose hands trembled slightly when he proposed. They arrived at a large guest house on the edge of the city. It was beautiful, quiet, guarded. "Just temporary," Mr. Cole assured her, "until things settle." Hannah nodded. Inside, everything was too perfect, too clean, too controlled. That night, she couldn't sleep. She walked to the window and noticed something strange. Security guards stationed outside, not casually but strategically. Fear crept in. The next morning, Hannah asked to use her phone. "It's being updated," Mr. Cole said smoothly, "for your safety." Her chest tightened. "I want to call Mama D," she insisted. Later, he replied. That was when Hannah knew. This wasn't help. It was containment. Across town, Marcus received the call he dreaded. "She's not reachable," Daniel said. "Her phone is off, no access." Marcus's hands clenched. "Find her." "We're trying," Daniel replied, "but the Foundation is hiding behind legal walls." Marcus stood up, fury burning behind his calm exterior. "Vanessa," he said coldly, "this has her name all over it." He moved fast. Lawyers were summoned, investigators were hired, old favors were called in. But the deeper they dug, the clearer it became. Vanessa had planned everything carefully. The Foundation, Mr. Cole, the story of rescuing Hannah. Vanessa wanted Hannah far away. Not because Hannah was dangerous, but because Hannah was proof. Proof that Marcus could be loved without money. Back at the guest house, Hannah confronted Mr. Cole. "You said I was free," she said firmly. "Why can't I leave?" Mr. Cole sighed, dropping the polite tone. "Because the world outside is not safe for you right now." "Or for your plans," Hannah snapped. His eyes hardened. "You're smarter than I expected." That night Hannah cried, not from heartbreak but from anger. She had been poor before. She had been lied to before. But she had never been powerless. She remembered Marcus's words. Distance makes control easier. And suddenly, everything became clear. The next morning, Hannah refused breakfast. She refused meetings. She refused silence. "I want to leave," she said loudly to anyone who would listen. The guards looked uncomfortable. Mr. Cole warned her, "You're making this difficult." "No," Hannah said, standing tall, "you did." Meanwhile, Marcus made a risky decision. He went public. Not with anger. With truth. At a press conference, he spoke plainly. "I lied about my identity because I was afraid of being loved for my money," he said. "That was wrong. I hurt someone innocent." Cameras flashed. But Hannah never asked for anything. She loved the man I pretended to be, and now she is being targeted for it. The room went silent. "I will not rest until she is safe." That speech shook everything. Public sympathy shifted. Eyes turned toward Vanessa. Under pressure, the foundation cracked. That same evening, Hannah was escorted out of the guest house, not by guards but by legal officers. She stepped into the open air, breathing deeply free. Marcus waited nearby. They saw each other from a distance. Neither ran. Neither spoke. The space between them held everything: pain, love, regret, hope. Marcus finally said, "I'm sorry I didn't trust you with the truth." Hannah replied quietly, "I'm sorry I didn't trust myself enough to see your fear." They stood there uncertain. The danger had passed, but the hardest question remained. Hannah did not go home with Marcus. Not that night. Freedom did not erase fear, and forgiveness did not come on command. She thanked him for standing up for her, then returned to Mama D's place, needing familiar walls and familiar voices. Marcus understood. For the first time in his life, he didn't try to fix things with money or control. He waited. Days passed. The world moved fast, but Hannah moved slowly. She returned to work fully. She laughed again, though softly. She spoke with customers, cooked, cleaned, and slowly found her rhythm. Marcus stayed away, but he didn't disappear. Every morning at exactly the same time he used to collect waste, a bag of fresh groceries appeared behind the restaurant. No note, no name. Mama D smiled knowingly. "You don't have to be married to be loved," she told Hannah, "but love shows itself in patience." Hannah nodded, her heart torn between caution and longing. Meanwhile, Marcus faced consequences he did not avoid. He met with his board and insisted on legal reforms within his company: transparency, fair wages, dignity for laborers. He publicly cut ties with anyone involved in manipulating Hannah. Vanessa disappeared from the spotlight, her influence crumbling. One afternoon, Hannah received a letter. Not from Marcus, from a little girl. The letter was written in uneven handwriting. "Dear Auntie Hannah, my daddy works for Mr. Marcus. He says Mr. Marcus changed our lives. He says you helped him remember who he is. Thank you." Hannah held the letter to her chest. That night she cried, not from pain but from release. She realized something important. Marcus had lied, but he had also learned. And change mattered. The following week, Hannah asked Mama D for a day off. She dressed simply, her natural bun neatly tied, no makeup, no performance. She went to the waste collection yard. Marcus was there, wearing gloves, lifting bins, working. He froze when he saw her. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Hannah walked closer. "I came to see the man I married," she said. Marcus swallowed. "I'm still him." "I know," she replied. "That's why I'm here." She took a deep breath. "I can forgive the lie," she said slowly, "but forgiveness is not the same as trust." Marcus nodded. "I understand." "Trust must be rebuilt," Hannah continued, "day by day without shortcuts." Marcus looked at her with tears in his eyes. "I'll wait, as long as it takes." Hannah studied his face. The rich man was there, but so was the waste collector. And maybe that was the truth. They did not hug. They did not promise anything. But they walked together for a while, side by side, speaking about simple things. And that was enough for now. As they parted ways, Hannah felt something shift, not certainty but possibility. What she didn't know was that a final decision still waited ahead. One that would define their future. And it would come when she least expected it. The invitation arrived quietly. No headlines, no cameras, no grand announcement. Just a simple envelope addressed to Hannah, delivered to Mama D's kitchen early one morning. Inside was a handwritten note. I am opening a new community center funded by my company, but named after dignity, not wealth. I would like you to be there, not as my wife, not as a symbol, but as Hannah, only if you want to. There was no pressure in the words. That alone made Hannah pause. She folded the note carefully and slipped it into her bag. That day at work, Hannah moved slowly. She listened to customers laugh. She watched Mama D argue playfully with a supplier. She remembered who she was before Marcus entered her life, a young woman who believed in honest work and simple values. She also remembered who Marcus had been when he thought no one was watching. By evening, Hannah made her decision. The community center was built in a modest neighborhood, not flashy, not loud, just solid, useful, real. Hannah arrived quietly and stood at the back. Marcus was on stage, dressed simply, speaking without notes. "We talk too much about success," he said, "but not enough about dignity. I learned that carrying waste taught me more about humanity than carrying wealth ever did." The crowd listened closely. This place is for people who work hard and are often ignored, and for people who believe that love should be honest. Hannah's chest tightened. When Marcus stepped down from the stage, he saw her. Time slowed. He didn't rush over. He didn't call her name. He waited. Hannah walked toward him. "I came," she said simply. Marcus nodded, "Thank you." They walked together through the center, classrooms, workshops, a small library. Marcus explained nothing unless she asked. At the last room, Hannah stopped. Inside were photographs. Not of wealth, but of work. Marcus lifting bins. Marcus eating leftovers alone. Marcus laughing with workers. Marcus standing beside Hannah outside Mama D's kitchen, taken from far away, unnoticed. "You kept these," Hannah said softly. "I needed to remember who I was when I met you," Marcus replied. Silence stretched between them. Then Hannah spoke. "When I married you, I believed love meant choosing honesty over comfort," she said. "You took that choice from me." Marcus lowered his head. "I know. But you also chose humility," Hannah continued. "And when you could have hidden again, you didn't." She looked at him carefully. "I won't pretend the hurt never happened," she said, "but I don't want to live my life running from love either." Marcus looked up, hope trembling in his eyes. "I don't want to be loved for my money," he said. "I want to be loved for who I am, even when I fail." Hannah nodded. "Then we start again," she said, slowly, truthfully. Marcus let out a breath he felt he had been holding for months. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple ring, the same one he had proposed with before. "I won't ask you to marry me again today," he said. "I'll ask you something harder. Will you walk with me and let trust grow?" Hannah looked at the ring, then at his hands, hands that knew both labor and luxury. She took the ring and placed it back in his palm. "Yes," she said, "but this time no masks." Marcus smiled through tears. "Never again." They walked out of the center together. Not as a billionaire and a maid. Not as a story for gossip. But as two imperfect people choosing honesty. Months later, they remarried quietly. No secrets. No lies. And when Hannah stood beside Marcus, she did so knowing exactly who he was. And loving him anyway. Thank you for watching Black Race Tales. Remember, every story carries a lesson, and every lesson carries our legacy. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this story with someone who needs its message today. See you in the next tale.